Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing things a little differently, you know?
Ooh.
Yeah, instead of just like learning about science, we're going to dive deep into, well, how to think like a scientist, you know?
I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah, gets you thinking differently.
exactly. So we're using this, it's called How to Think Science. It's this set of notes, pretty fascinating stuff.
Sounds intriguing. What's on the docket?
Well, we're going to cover like the whole 9 yards, scientific method, all those different fields of science, physics, biology.
All right.
Even, get this, how science connects to things like self-awareness, even ethics. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it's pretty broad scope. What's the main goal? What are we trying to do here?
I think it's all about, giving you the tools to actually use these principles.
Right.
Not just know about them, but like apply them in your everyday life.
Love it. Practical application, that's what matters.
Exactly. All right, let's jump right in. Section 1 is science more than just facts. Sounds pretty basic, right?
Yeah.
But the source defines science as the pursuit of knowledge about the natural world, grounded in empirical evidence and the scientific method. Simple, but I feel like there's more to unpack there.
Oh, definitely. Science is definitely more than just, a static set of facts.
Yeah.
It's way more about constantly adapting, changing our understanding as we get new information. Got to be open to that new stuff.
So it's the journey, not the destination.
You got it.
Wow.
That's why the whole idea of lifelong learning in science is so huge. Like, what we think we know today, it could be totally different tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a little scary, but also kind of exciting.
Right. Keeps things interesting. Always something new to uncover.
Totally agree. Okay, on to section 2. The scientific method, your mental toolkit. Back in school, it always felt like that was just something you do in a lab.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Mm.
Beakers, Bunsen burners.
Exactly. Like, does it apply to real life?
That's a common misconception. The scientific method, it's more of a model for thinking,
Right.
To solve problems, apply it to anything. Like, even the source talks about troubleshooting your computer.
Wait, how's that like the scientific method?
Okay, so your computer won't turn on. That's your observation. So you think maybe the power cord is loose. That's your hypothesis.
Okay.
You test it, plug in the cord, see what happens. That's the method in action.
So it's constantly observing, asking questions, testing things out until you get an answer.
Yeah, pretty much. Any problem, big or small, this approach can help. Your car making a weird noise, boom, scientific method.
So instead of getting overwhelmed, we can break things down into manageable steps.
Exactly. And it helps you stay objective, No jumping to conclusions before you've got the evidence.
Makes sense.
Uh-huh.
Okay, section 3. Physics and chemistry realities building blocks. I always find these subjects fascinating, but honestly, they can be a bit intimidating.
Oh, I get it. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
Yeah. But the source makes it seem like they're more like languages to describe the universe and how it works.
That's a great way to look at it. Once you understand those laws, like gravity, you start seeing everything differently.
Yeah. Like instead of just seeing a ball fall, you understand why it's happening.
Exactly. Like you know why it falls, and you can even predict how it'll fall. That knowledge can help you build stuff that defies gravity,
Skyscraper, right?
Skyscrapers, airplanes, all sorts of things.
Wow. Almost like a secret code to unlock the universe.
That's one way to put it. And, the source mentions this thing called the Pareto principle. It's like, focus on the 20% of the most important knowledge, like Newton's laws or the basics of the periodic table, and that unlocks so much more.
So get the core concepts down, and the rest kind of falls into place.
Precisely. It's about building on those foundational principles.
Okay, makes sense. On to section 4. Biology and environmental science life and our place in it. This one feels pretty close to home.
Absolutely. Understanding how living things interact, how we impact the environment, those are big deals. The source really dives into the ethics here.
What do you mean? What kind of ethical stuff are we talking about?
Well, just in genetics. We're learning so much about it, but it brings up questions like genetic engineering.
Right.
What are the consequences of that? Or how about, understanding ecosystems that shapes how we make decisions about, conserving resources?
So it's not just knowing the science. It's about using it responsibly.
That's the key. Science gives us this incredible power, but we got to think about the ethical side for sure.
It's like realizing we're not separate from nature. We're part of it.
Yeah.
Everything we do has an impact.
100%. It's all connected. And our choices, they have a ripple effect. You can't ignore that.
This is getting me thinking, scientific thinking. It's more than just the facts, isn't it?
No, it's not.
It's a way of looking at the world with this sense of responsibility,
Absolutely. And that's what I love about this deep dive so far. It's about empowering you to think for yourself, make smart choices, and really use science to make the world better.
I can't wait to see where we go from here. Ready for section 5?
Bring it on!
Okay, let's do it. Global challenge to science as a force for change. I love this idea. The source is basically saying science can be used to tackle these huge problems like climate change, pandemics.
It's a powerful tool for sure.
Right.
But there are always layers of complexity. It's not always straightforward.
Like what? What do you mean?
Well, think about something like renewable energy, right? Renewable energy, it's amazing, right? Huge potential for tackling climate change.
Yeah, for sure.
But even implementing that stuff, it can bring up all these questions about like resources, who gets them, economic impacts.
Right. It's not just as simple as like slapping solar panels everywhere and we're good. There's a bigger picture.
Exactly. And that's why the source, they really stress being skeptical. Just because something sounds like progress doesn't mean it's automatically good. We got to think it through.
Reminds me of what the source said earlier about being skeptical, especially with like health claims, new technologies, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You can't just accept everything you hear, especially when there's money or politics involved,
Yeah.
Got to think critically, look at the evidence, not just the hype.
Like being a detective, right? Following the evidence, seeing if it all adds up.
Exactly. And remember, science, it's always changing. Something we think is true today might get refined or even totally overturned tomorrow as we get more data.
So always be open to new information. Be willing to change your mind if the evidence points that way.
Exactly. That's what makes science so cool. It's this constant evolution, always discovering new stuff.
Ready to move on to section 6. This one's really at the core of what we're talking about.
Yeah, let's do it. What's in store for us?
This is called Putting It All Together. Science and How You Think. Basically connects the dots between scientific thinking and those 6 core principles of thought we talked about way back when.
Okay, remind me. What were those principles again? Been a while. So we got critical thinking, skepticism, openness, ethical reasoning, self-awareness, and emotional intelligence. That's the big 6.
Wow, that's quite a list. How do those all fit into science, though?
They're all kind of woven together. How we approach science, how we think about the world in general. Like, take critical thinking. That's the foundation of the scientific method, right? You got to analyze info objectively, watch out for biases, make sure your conclusions make sense.
So, no just blindly accepting what people tell you. Got to think for yourself. Look at the evidence.
Exactly. Skepticism goes hand in hand with that. Question everything. Look for proof before you believe something.
Trust but verify.
Exactly. And then you got to have openness, being willing to listen to new ideas, even if they, challenge what you already believe.
That can be tough sometimes, letting go of your own ideas.
Oh, for sure. But it's essential for science to move forward. Think about it. So many groundbreaking discoveries, they were initially rejected because they challenged the status quo.
So, got to be willing to step outside your comfort zone, consider different viewpoints.
100%. And then, of course, there's ethical reasoning. Like we've been talking about, science has this power to change the world, but that comes with responsibility, Got to think about the ethical implications, make sure we're using this knowledge for good.
Like Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly. And that's where self-awareness comes in. You got to be honest with yourself about your own biases, your motivations, how they might affect your decisions.
Being aware of your blind spots, essentially.
Exactly. And last but not least, we've got emotional intelligence. Might seem a bit out of place with science, but it's actually super important for communication and collaboration.
Wait, really? How so?
Well, science isn't just about cold, hard facts, It's a human endeavor. We got to be able to understand where other people are coming from, even if we disagree.
So it's about connecting with people on an emotional level as well as intellectual.
Exactly. If you want to communicate science effectively, you need clarity and accuracy for sure, but also empathy and understanding. Otherwise, no one's going to listen.
This is making so much sense. All these principles, they really are the foundation of how we think about science, how we approach it.
They are. And it's not just for scientists either. Anyone can use these principles to navigate life, to solve problems, to make better decisions.
Okay, let's move on to section 7. Lifelong learning, staying curious with science. I love this idea. Learning shouldn't end when you graduate. It should be a constant thing.
100% agree. Science is a journey. You never really reach the destination. Always something new to learn, something new to explore. The source even gives some great examples of this.
Like what?
Well, remember Pluto?
Yeah.
For years, we learned it was the ninth planet, right? Then new discoveries came along. Scientists had to rethink what a planet even is. And boom, Pluto got demoted to a dwarf planet.
Big news. I remember that. It was all over the news.
Exactly. Proves that science is always changing. What we consider fact today might not be true tomorrow. Another good example, all the advances in gene editing, like CRISPR.
CRISPR, that's the one that could revolutionize medicine, right?
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing how fast science is moving these days.
It is, and that's exactly why lifelong learning is so important. Gotta stay curious, keep asking questions, be ready for new discoveries.
But with all the information out there, how do we even keep up? It's overwhelming.
That's where the Pareto principle comes in handy again. Remember that. The source says, focus on those core scientific principles, the ones that apply across different fields. Master those, and you'll be in much better shape to understand new discoveries, see how they fit in the bigger picture.
So build a strong foundation, and you can keep building on it over time. Makes sense.
Exactly. It's like having a mental framework that helps you organize all this new information coming at you. And don't forget, learning should be fun too.
Oh, for sure. I love reading science articles, watching documentaries, even listening to podcasts, like this one.
Me too. And don't forget about hands-on learning. Visit a science museum, try a science experiment at home, maybe join a citizen science project. So many cool ways to engage with science in a way that's both fun and meaningful.
You're getting me pumped to learn something new today. All right, ready for the next section. What's coming up?
Now we're going to switch gears a bit. Let's talk about communication. Specifically, communicating science effectively.
Okay, that makes sense. What good is all this scientific knowledge if it stays locked up in labs and research papers? Got to share it with the world.
Exactly. It's crucial. Communicating science well, it helps inform the public, shape policies, inspire the next generation of scientists. It's a big deal.
But science can be complicated, all that technical jargon. How do you explain it to people who aren't scientists, in a way that's both understandable and engaging?
Yeah, that's the challenge, right? But the source, they have some good tips. One of the big ones is keeping things clear and concise.
So like avoid all the jargon, the super technical language.
Exactly. Use language everyone can understand. Break down those complex ideas into smaller, bite-sized pieces. Use analogies, examples people can relate to.
Like you're a translator, bridging that gap between the scientific world and everyone else.
Perfect analogy. And don't underestimate the power of a good story. People love stories or how we've been sharing information for, forever.
We're hardwired for storytelling, it's true.
Exactly. So if you can weave those scientific facts into a compelling narrative, boom, people are hooked. They'll remember it too.
So instead of just throwing facts and figures at people, got to make that emotional connection.
You got it. Oh, and don't forget visuals. Charts, graphs, illustrations, videos, all that stuff can make data come alive. Make it easier to grasp.
Show, don't tell. Like they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words.
Exactly. Visuals are powerful.
Wow.
Especially for people who learn best visually. It just makes it click.
Okay, so we've got clarity, conciseness, storytelling, visuals. What else should we keep in mind when we're trying to communicate science?
Well, the source also says, don't be afraid to acknowledge uncertainty. Science is all about discovery. There are always things we don't know yet. It's okay to say, hey, we're still figuring this out.
Makes sense. Trying to act like science has all the answers all the time, that can actually make people trust it less.
For sure. Being honest about what we don't know, that shows integrity. And it also opens the door for more research, more exploration.
So embracing the unknown, acknowledging that science is this ever-evolving process.
Exactly. And when you're sharing scientific findings, be transparent, you know? Lay out your methods, talk about the limitations of your study, any potential biases.
Show your work, don't just give the final answer.
Exactly. And last but not least, remember, communication is a two-way street. Listen to your audience, answer their questions, be ready to adjust your approach depending on who you're talking to.
Build bridges, not walls. Science communication, it should be a conversation, not a lecture.
I couldn't agree more. And speaking of conversations, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about how science connects with other fields.
Ooh, interdisciplinary thinking. This should be good.
It's fascinating stuff. The source makes this point that science, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It interacts with things like art, literature, philosophy, history, all sorts of things.
So it's not just STEM, it's STEAM. Science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. It's recognizing that knowledge and creativity, they go hand in hand.
Exactly. Just think, like, how many works of art have been inspired by scientific discoveries? Renaissance paintings of the human body, sci-fi novels exploring the universe, the list goes on.
And what about the philosophical questions raised by scientific advancements like artificial intelligence, gene editing, all that stuff?
Those are big questions, and it's through these interdisciplinary conversations that we can really start to grapple with the ethical and societal implications of science.
So science isn't just about cold, hard facts. It's also about exploring the human condition, the meaning of life, our place in the universe.
Exactly. It's all connected. And that brings us to a really important point the source makes: the importance of cultivating a sense of wonder and awe.
I love that. Science is all about embracing the mystery and beauty of the universe.
Precisely. Think about it. The vastness of space, the complexity of the human brain, the intricate way life works in an ecosystem. These things should fill us with wonder, make us want to keep exploring, keep asking questions.
It's about nurturing that childlike curiosity we all have inside us, that sense of awe that makes us want to learn and discover.
Exactly. And as we keep making new discoveries, that sense of wonder, it just gets stronger.
I'm feeling inspired. So how can we do this? How can we cultivate this sense of wonder in our everyday lives? Any practical tips?
Well, the source suggests spending time in nature, just observing the world around you, the patterns, the processes, visit a museum, read some science fiction, watch a documentary about something that interests you, and most importantly, never be afraid to ask questions.
Embrace the unknown.
Exactly. And remember, science is a journey, not a destination. There's always something new to learn, something new to discover. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep that sense of wonder alive.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling energized, ready to tackle the world with my newfound scientific thinking skills.
Me too. I hope our listeners are feeling the same way. Remember, science isn't just for scientists, it's for everyone.
That's a great point. Science is everywhere. It's in how we cook our food, how we build our houses, how we understand the world. By embracing scientific thinking, we can all become more informed, more engaged, more empowered citizens.
Couldn't agree more.
This has been such a thought-provoking deep dive. I feel like I have a whole new perspective on what it means to think scientifically.
That's exactly what we were hoping for. Remember, science is not just about what we know, it's about how we think. And by using these principles we've talked about today, you can really unlock a whole new level of understanding and engagement with the world around you.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with this powerful thought from the source. It asks, how will you use science not just to understand the world, but to shape it for the better? It's a call to action, challenging us to use our knowledge, our actions, to make a real difference.
It's a question worth pondering. Each of us has the potential to contribute to a more scientifically literate and just world, whether through our own actions or by inspiring others to embrace scientific thinking.
And on that inspiring note, we've come to the end of our deep dive into how to think science. I hope you found this exploration as enlightening as I have.
Me too. It's been a pleasure sharing these insights with you. Remember, science isn't just facts and figures. It's a way of thinking, a way of approaching the world with curiosity, critical thinking, and a commitment to making a difference.
So go out there and embrace the power of scientific thinking. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep that spark of curiosity alive. So we've been talking about, how to think like a scientist, all those tools, all those principles. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I kind of keep coming back to this question, what's the point? Like, what's the point of all this scientific thinking if it doesn't actually, lead to some kind of positive change in the world?
It's a great question, really gets to the heart of it. And it's something the source material talks about directly, actually. The real power of science, it's all about using it to solve problems, make lives better, create a more sustainable future, that kind of thing.
So it's taking all this amazing knowledge, these tools, these insights, and actually putting them to work for good, for humanity, for the planet.
Exactly. Think about the incredible progress we've made in medicine, for example. I mean, vaccines, antibiotics, all these breakthroughs have saved millions and millions of lives, improved the quality of life for countless others, all thanks to science.
Yeah, hard to imagine what the world would be like without those advancements.
Right. It's incredible. And it's not just medicine either. Look at agriculture. Science has revolutionized how we grow food. Higher yields, more efficient farming, a better understanding of sustainability.
And of course, we can't forget about renewable energy technologies. Science is leading the charge there, developing cleaner, more sustainable ways to power our world and combat climate change.
Absolutely. These are just a few examples, but they show how science is actively shaping the world for the better. But it's important to remember that science, it's a human endeavor. It's not perfect, and it can be influenced by biases, limitations, just like anything else humans do.
So we got to be careful, right? Think about how science is used, who benefits from it. It's not enough to just make progress. We need to make sure the progress is fair, that it benefits everyone.
I couldn't agree more. We have to be really vigilant about making sure scientific advancements are used ethically, responsibly. That means thinking about the potential downsides of new tech, making sure everyone has access to the benefits, having open and honest conversations about the role of science in society.
So it's not just scientific literacy, it's like scientific citizenship, right? We all need to be engaged, ask questions, hold people accountable, make sure science is being used for good.
Exactly. And it brings us right back to that powerful question the source asked. How will you use science? Not just to understand the world, but to shape it for the better.
It's a challenge. Each of us, we have a role to play. We can use our knowledge, our skills, our voices to help create a more scientifically literate and just world.
Absolutely. What can we do? What are some practical steps we can take?
Well, the source actually offers some good advice. First, stay informed, stay engaged, read articles, watch documentaries, attend lectures, maybe even participate in a citizen science project. Get involved somehow.
Be an active participant, not just a passive bystander.
Exactly. Second, don't be afraid to ask questions. Challenge assumptions. Demand transparency from those in power.
Hold our leaders, our institutions accountable. Make sure science is being used for the right reasons.
Yeah, absolutely crucial. And finally, support scientific research. Advocate for policies that are based on evidence, not just opinions, and encourage science education for everyone.
Invest in the future. Make sure everyone has a chance to benefit from scientific advancements.
It's all about recognizing that science is not just a bunch of facts. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of approaching the world with curiosity, with a critical mind, and a commitment to making a difference.
Well said. Couldn't have put it better myself.
I don't know about you, but I feel really inspired after this deep dive. It's given me a whole new appreciation for the power of science and my own potential to shape a better future.
Me too. It's been quite a journey.
And I hope our listeners feel the same. Remember, science, it's not just for scientists, it's for everyone.
It's a way to understand the world, our place in it. It's a tool to solve problems, create a more just and sustainable future for all of us. And it's this incredible journey of lifelong learning and discovery. It never really ends.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into how to think science, just want to leave you with this one final thought. Embrace your curiosity. Never stop asking questions, and never underestimate the power of science to change the world.